So, hello everybody. My name's Faye and I run Understanding Animals. And today we are very lucky to have Leslie with us, who is one of my clients who's been very happy and generous to share her story of her and her horse Oasis, who came for some really specialist help with laminitis. So hopefully somewhere, either as part of this or next door, there'll be a video that we can show you of Oasis and where Leslie had been in her journey already with the vets. So let's hand over to Leslie and perhaps she can tell us a little bit about her horse Oasis and their journey before they came to us. So over to Leslie.
Sure. Thank you, Faye. It's really lovely to talk with you again. You're always a joy to spend time with. So Oasis, she's a 13-year-old Tennessee Walker mare that we has lived with us for now 4 years, but at the time that she developed laminitis, we had her for 3 years. To put it into context about where we live in a remote location in Canada, in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. So our winters are a lot of snow. Last year there was a tremendous amount of ice, and it's common that temperatures during the day are at -15 to -20. So when you're dealing with a horse that's ill and has laminitis, you have to put all that into the perspective of what how you maneuver and work with them. So in mid-December, really out of nowhere for me, Oasis developed laminitis. And I contacted the vet right away. He came the next day. He made a special appointment to come out, and we tried all of the things that he suggested. Different things, kept trying, had x-rays done, saw that there was definite rotation of the coffin bone, but it had not penetrated her soul. So that gave me a bit of hope that there was still some blood flow that was going there and that we had something to work with. She would go in this cycle. She'd seem to get a little bit better and then she would get worse again. And I would have to walk her to the water because that's about a 200-meter walk, I guess, from where their shelter is to the water and back. And there's no other way of having it. You can't put a bucket out for them because it'll be cold within
we've got
2 hours. So
haven't you? Yeah.
So you've got to do that.
Yeah.
We tried everything that we could with the vet, and he was at a loss. He had contacted his colleagues, and we tried what they suggested, and none of it worked. So I thought didn't have somebody who had a depth of knowledge and expertise in laminitis is really what I needed. So I contacted a friend of mine who I do horse agility with, and she suggested that I contact you.
Yeah.
So I did. And that was the turning
point. Wasn't it? It was February by the time that happened. So you'd really been on quite a big journey with her already, hadn't you, up to that point? And doing a fantastic job of trying to do an immense amount of care. And it's so frustrating, isn't it, when you're doing everything that you can. And, you're stuck in a cycle and nothing's getting better. And amazing that you were still looking. You're one of those owners who's still looking, what can we do? What's the answer? Is there anything else we haven't looked at?
Yeah. And I was making boots out of 2-inch styrofoam for her, cutting it and putting them on every day. And the whole, I did whatever was suggested, I was trying to do. So part of the things that really got me to really want to contact you was that your expertise and your, like I said, the depth of knowledge and experience that you've had because of with your pony rescue. And immediately you were telling me, oh yeah, I've seen this before. And, okay, I've seen this and this is what I've tried and this is what I've done. And you were very open, non-judgmental, clear. You were always there if I needed some guidance or some help or, we're going from we're in the morning and you're in your early evening. So,
Yeah.
you know, we managed to do
Yeah.
that time shift.
Yeah. And we're all
and
remote as well, aren't we? So even though we have still managed it at a distance, because, you know, you kind of hope from my end that, okay, you're a really long way away. So it's not like I'm physically going to be able to be there with you in Oasis, you know, even without COVID, that would be tricky. So we were still able, weren't we, to work with the knowledge, with your observations, going out there and discussing things through. And you were able to take photos as well for iridology, which helped us know what was going on inside a bit more, what didn't it? It was really good to pull all of that together to have a better picture. And I think what was really interesting with Oasis as well is that, you know, the video, and it was great that you could send that, because then I get a clear picture of exactly what's going on. And so that was brilliant that you can feel brave enough to do that as well, because we all know, we've all been there in the past, that that's how we get to learn more, is because we're in these awful situations with our horses and stuff hasn't gone right. And so we're there asking all these questions, going, how can we do better? What are we missing here? What is it that we need to do? And it was just so great because you were so open with all of that, and happy to weigh things up. And, you know, it's not even that you're in a situation where I can go, right, Leslie, these are the products which we could look at, go and buy them at the shop, because you don't have the shop just down the road which is going to have these things. So you know, there was a bit of research to do as well, wasn't there? But it was all overcomeable.
It was. Yeah. It definitely was. And you really helped me to find different sources in Canada. And we do a lot of our shopping anyways online, because we live in a very small community. So however we can support the community, we do, but in lots of ways we can't find what we needed. So I was able to do that, and I would send you links and say, is this what you're meaning? And then also I was able to look at within our environment and find different things in the springtime that I could gather and dry and do that. And that interests me as well. So I think the other part that I found was so important was it was really the welfare of the horse that came through. All the way through, and being very cognizant of her ability to tell us what was working and what wasn't working. And the onus was on me to be very realistic. You know, I really wanted her to be better. I wanted her at some point also along the way to be much better than what she actually was. So if she took a few steps faster, then I was all overjoyed, because this was going to be the great recovery. That was me reading into, she's walking a little bit better today, but Leslie, seriously, you know, you're not going to get on this horse. And so she's not right, but she was 6 months later after I worked with you. I'm back on riding her and working with her.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I remember you saying to me early on, like, the cowboys all say that once it's got laminitis, that's it, it's got to be shot. And you know, there are instances. I mean, if what we were doing with Oasis had not worked, then I think we would all be in agreement. We were looking from that video, we had to see signs of improvement pretty quickly. Otherwise, then, you know, other serious euthanasia, you know, options would be on the table, because you can't keep a horse in pain. But I mean, I remember we were sort of monitoring very closely in those early days, and she really did start to pick up quite quickly though, didn't she, once she started getting what she needed. And I know that you were doing special things with water, and it was like minus goodness knows what outside, but you still managed to get enough out there for her to start making those selections. And to start see her beginning to move and get to the water trough without you having to really struggle to get there. You know, it was lovely that it broke the cycle, didn't it?
Big, yes, massively. And it was interesting because she so wanted the different teas that I made that she would finish them before they would even start to freeze. And she would immediately go to the bucket and they would be gone. And I would go, oh, okay, oh wow, you want more? And so I, my husband would laugh. He'd say, oh, it's tea time for the ponies. And so
yeah, well, this is what I love, because it really was an emergency situation. I think you had 7 foot of snow outside or something like that, and I remember saying, what can you get? And you couldn't get to the store. And I just love the fact that you had things in your cupboards, and we were like, right, what have you got? And actually it was stuff that you could just get out there straight away with. And it was the right things for Oasis, which was absolutely fantastic. And I think within a couple of weeks, you sent me an email saying she walked to the end of the 5-acre pasture today. And when you think about that video that you saw, I mean, you just wouldn't believe that, would you? When you've been stuck in that cycle, you'd be pleased if they walked, like you say, to the water trough, and to actually see that you can get that cumulative movement back to seeing that the body is an amazing thing if you can get it to kick back into healing as well. And it wasn't, it wasn't a completely steady road either. I mean, it turned out to be very positive, but there was, she had a massive abscess, didn't she, that broke out, which abscessing is kind of a very healthy, normal part of the recovery process. But Oasis did that in quite a dramatic way, I think it would be fair to say. And you handled that all well, didn't you? That she had to go to the vets and have more x-rays, and we just discussed how we were going to keep her comfortable on the journey, because we know what she reacts well to and what she doesn't. And all of that, you managed to get her x-rays, and she didn't have any bad reactions, did you? And we talked about, okay, you're going to the vet, and how can they make her comfortable, and how does that fit in with what you were doing to keep everything as safe as possible?
And the vet was very open to trying different things. I had to advocate a bit for her, because he wanted to do it slightly differently than what we had talked about. So I just held firm and said, no, this is really important that we do it this way. And it was, he didn't. It really made no difference to him doing it one way or the other, and so he said fine, and did it the way that we had spoken about. So he was very open, because he knew he had nothing else to offer. And we were definitely the ground was still frozen, and so we couldn't euthanasia would have been, we would have had to wait until the ground was thawed. And those thoughts, and planning that was really, I did that, we have to go there sometimes, don't we? We have to go there sometimes. But actually, I think, although you can never know for sure, it was quite heartening by that stage, and that she'd taken to the whole thing so well, and you were progressing forward. And as scary as the abscess thing was, because she did do it on quite a grand scale, even that, we still worked through that really well, didn't we? So that actually moved on quite quickly, and the hooves are just so wonderfully kind of biodynamic, and even the rate of healing of that was really quite extraordinary. I've never seen it amaze me. Again, it's like once you get everything set, and then the body is off, isn't it? It's just the most amazing thing to get them through this healing process. So now, I mean, within a few months, I have got a lovely video of her walking in the pasture in probably about May time, I think. And she was out and about with her buddies again, and she's walking really well, and she's out and about, getting that movement going. And then I think within, I want to say 7 months, you were back riding her again, and you've got that wonderful new hoof capsule coming down, and you're getting out to enjoy things again. So what does your vet reckon to this pony? he said it was my efforts and patience and determination that got her through this. And I think being open-minded, because there was really nothing else that I could do. And if you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity. So I needed to try something different, and it took a leap of faith. But I thought, she has nowhere else to go. I've got to try this, and you could see that it made a difference automatically. And so then we just kept going. So that's how he felt.
Yeah, I remember a couple of times I've heard the words divine intervention, and that always makes me smile a little bit because, yeah, you could go there, you know, we're all looking for that extra bit of help, aren't we? But I think the great thing about going through this process is that we're really listening to our horses, aren't we? So yes, we've got the veterinary diagnosis and all of that going on, but on a day-to-day basis with us as our owners, you know, the best thing we've got to go on is what our horses are telling us. And the nice thing about working with this way is that you're getting very clear ideas about what is or what isn't going on, and if it's not clear, then you can ask me and see if it, you know, means anything in particular. But I think that you felt that Oasis not only has transformed with her feet, but your relationship with her has also transformed through this kind of journey over the last year.
Completely. She was quite standoffish, and we were working on that. But, you know, spending an hour walking to the water and back again with her, like we did, and trying so many different things, and really putting faith in her that she knew what she needed, because at a certain point she'd go, okay, I don't need this anymore. And I go, oh, okay. And then it would be something else that you would suggest that we would try. And then that was, she'd go, oh, yeah, this is what I need.
Yeah. The next phase. Yeah.
Yeah. So trusting her, and she's, you know, she walks up to me now. And we hang out together. She's really easy to catch now. And she was the most challenging, because she would also, you know, direct all the boys to go, okay, you know, we're going to the end of the pasture. And so, you know, she'd take off and they'd all follow her. So, and the interesting thing is, because she's a mare, the boys all follow her and really watch how she trusts me. And so their trust has deepened as well, and the connection with them has deepened as well.
Yeah.
So
and you've been able to apply some of those principles to them as well, haven't you? Because they had some health issues come up, and you were able to just take some first steps of thinking, okay, well, we can support you as well. And we're not going to go in too much into exactly the route of what we've done along the way, but I think it's fair enough to just say we're talking about very particular plants and very particular pure things that are offered in a very pure set. So we're not just buying a big bag of horse food and going, here, eat as much as you want. It doesn't work like that at all. So we're not really getting into the ins and outs of specifics, but we're just having a chat about the general approach that we used. So yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it? And having that ability to have, when the body really needs something, and we do have this as humans, but we're not very good at sort of tapping into it, because we're so used to, you know, a lot of humans now are eating very processed foods, but then occasionally, maybe part of the season, you might think, oh, I really need mango at the moment or something, and you kind of will have a craving. So we do have it every now and again, but the horses particularly are really good at being tapped into that specific thing. It's like, you know, you've almost got a coding, haven't you? And it's like you've got the right thing and it suddenly locks into place, and they're very good at showing you. And it's quite often that people will say to me, oh, my horse will eat everything, but that's not the case. You might think that, but you know, they'll be looking for something very particular. So I think the really interesting thing, and the way that I'm interested in working as well, is that as well as looking at the whole horse, because we get really absorbed in the feet, but actually there's a whole load of processes going on in the body, which is what the iridology really helps us to understand, isn't it, of what was going on. And Oasis is a very sensitive girl, and it was beginning to become apparent through her iridology that she was really being quite a reflection of the environment and the toxicity that was going on. And you were great, because so we're going to talk a little bit about spraying here, and that was something that you guys did quite routinely, didn't you? And you've totally embraced that whole thing. So tell us a little bit about that, and I guess that was all a bit of a shock to start with, and how you progressed with that, because I think you've seen quite dramatic results in your own health as well since making those changes, if you're happy to share that.
Yeah. I mean, we part of our job as being caretaker on the ranch is there's a particular type of weed here that called knapweed that's takes over ranges. And so I found that the spray that that was the least toxic that I could possibly get. And I'm not particularly comfortable, and I am very concerned about the environment, but thought that this would be okay. Kept it from what I thought was away from the horses, but it was after we did it for 2 days, my husband and I, and we wore all the gear and, you know, followed the way that you're supposed to do it. We both said to each other, we really didn't like doing this. It just really didn't feel good. And I had some health issues come up in the fall, and then Oasis developed this laminitis, and two of our other two horses developed coughs that one definitely had not had before. The other pony had it before. And so really it was very, I started doing some research and found that there are some little bugs that you can get that are offered by the regional district that we live in. So it's a free service, and they'll come and put these bugs out, and they eat the knapweed. And they're specifically used for knapweed, and they've been used for quite a while in Montana and different places in the States and in Canada, and they work really well. So that's what we're doing, is we're getting more bugs coming in the spring again, and they'll put them out, and it doesn't bother my garden because we love gardening and I love growing vegetables and doing all that. So that was the other thing. I didn't want to bring bugs in that were going to decimate our gardens that we had, and they don't. They're specific for knapweed. So it's lovely. I'm not poisoning the earth, it felt like, and we're still accomplishing what we needed to of making the rangeland and our area healthier for other natural species to grow.
Yeah, amazing. And how about you now? Because I remember doing a follow-up with you. I think it was when you just started riding Oasis again, and you sent me some videos and photos, and so we did a little catch-up. And I mean, you're always beautiful, obviously, but you were radiant, and I was thinking, crikey, you know, and it just felt like, you know, everybody had transformed and got to feel the benefits of that, which is amazing. And I know you've even been at work on your husband on occasion as well, when he said a few health things pop up, and it's don't worry, it's fine, we know what to do. So it's kind of nice that it can be empowering for everyone. As it turns out, it just started to be Oasis, but it's kind of grown a bit bigger, hasn't it?
And I see, my background is in nursing, and I've seen people choose what it is that they need to do, and it really works really well for them. So trusting them, so that when we first met and we were talking about trusting Oasis and what she needed, that really resonated with me. That made a lot of sense. And then, you know, referring different references and books that I could purchase, and not through you, but, you know, out of my own interest, which was great. I really appreciated that. So
well, we know that our horses all have us on these journeys, don't they? So we're all going to learn a load more stuff. I don't think a lifetime is ever going to be enough for the amount of knowledge that we would like to manage to acquire, but we'll have a good go at that. So I'm really, really pleased that we've got to work together, because you've been amazing to work with. But it's really hard for owners, I think, particularly when you're stuck in a situation, and you really do get drawn in, aren't you? Because you're there every day and you're providing that care. And if, you know, you don't know it's working, what advice could you give to other people? And, you know, what encouragement and what do you think is the best about having some extra tools in your toolkit, maybe, to work with?
Extra tools are always useful. You know, more things are better than not, and having the expertise of being able to have guidance about when to use them and how to use them, and what things to look for is really important. I think keeping in your heart the importance of the welfare of the horse, and being gently honest with yourself. It's, you know, we want things to be different sometimes, and they're just not. And so, you know, kind of holding your feelings in of how difficult it is, and recognizing them, and then saying how that changes your perspective, and then wanting to, you know, trying all the different things that you can try, and being honest, are they working or not? And getting people around you who have that depth and breadth of knowledge is really, really important. I think that's the main thing. And you know, the little things of, well, how do I get this, and how are we going to do it? Because, you know, you're there and I'm here. Those are all things that you can work out, you know, one way or the other. It's usually with the internet and email and that kind of thing. They're all workable. It's really how much time and energy you can put into it. And I think when she was really sick, I would wake up in the morning and just feel this in the pit of my stomach of, what am I going to find today with her? How has she been all night long? You know, oh, she's lying down, she hasn't been up, you know, how am I going to do this? And so I think part of that change in me was that the worry had gone. And she had turned that corner. And I'm always going to be very careful with her. You and I have lots of conversations now about, you know, how do we do this? How do we support her? You know, what's safe? You know, how could we do it? Because, and you continue to guide me in that way. And that's really crucial for her welfare as well.
It's really one of the, I mean, we've had such amazing results. You know, we can't win every, you know, I would love to be able to, but I'd say that we win more than we lose. But the cases where we tend to have not been successful are either that our owners come to you with a horse that's already really in the end stages, and you know, it's very hard then. So even though sometimes you can get a recovery, I remember a miniature Shetland, and this field opposite had been sprayed and they had drift come over them, and this little Shetland had crashed, and it was an advanced Cushing's case. And we just managed to get that immune system coming back and just getting that little bit of improvement, and the field got sprayed again. And that was it. And we just decided, you know, it was not sensible. So it's very frustrating sometimes as an owner, because things are outside of your control. And myself and other therapists, you know, we're looking all the time that there are some new products coming on that can help to try and neutralize this quicker, because we've had some really amazing products like you've had with Oasis, but it takes a while for it to work. So if we've got something that can neutralize stuff quicker, you know, we're always thinking, you know, how can we do this better? Because if you lose them, that drives you on to think, you know, what is it that we're missing if we haven't got it right? But the other thing we were talking about a bit earlier, the thing that you've been really great with Oasis with, is that you've been really strict at sticking with the program. Because when I've got them for rehab, they're all within my parameters. I know what has happened or what hasn't happened. And so I can be really strict with knowing, you know, whether something's happened or it hasn't. And when everything's in my control, it's great, because I know that we're on that journey and that path. And although we absolutely can rehab them with helping owners to do that, we need them to stick with that program that they're committed to. And if they start going, oh, well, my friend tried feeding their horse this and it worked, and they start adding in different elements, or like we were talking about earlier, if you suddenly sort of start turning them out again, and we haven't had the discussion about where your horse is at, is the, you know, is the toxicity gone? Is there still toxicity in the pasture? If that's the root of it, then you can have issues. So yeah, I think it would be fair to say that none of it is a quick fix, but you do have the potential there to have your horse happy and functioning as part of their herd. And you know, yes, they will always be on a particular program for the rest of their lives. But my herd at the rescue that taught me, they went from horses which I kept off the pasture in the summer so that they didn't get laminitis, to now they're on the same routine as everyone else. So that was brilliant, but I'm not complacent about that. If I stop their program, they will have laminitis. So it's not like we have this magic wand, but with the iridology, once we know their strengths and their weaknesses, where their body's not quite working properly, how they respond as well. So if you had certain things happen now, you probably would go, right, I know what they need when that happens, and I know I get the response really quickly. And, you know, that's great. And there are times when we do absolutely need the vet. Don't get me wrong about that.
Definitely.
But there's a little bit of empowering ourselves to take control of our health and our horse's health, and to keep that as good as possible. And yeah, a combination of both. Neither one is more superior than the other. But good,
exactly,
suitable nutrition is really the key to optimal health, I think, would be fair enough to say.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
So is there anything else, Leslie, that you would like to say? Like, how did you feel about the whole process? I think we've covered it a little bit already, but I know that you've said already that you did feel supportive, and maybe can you tell us a little bit what Oasis is doing now, maybe? How far on? So we just made it to the year, haven't we? I think it was yesterday, actually, a year yesterday that you first sent me.
It was.
Wow.
It was. And she, the other day, we've got the snow became less crusty, so they've been out walking around a little bit more. They're in a large pasture area, and they were way down at the end, and I watched her, and she rolled, and the other guys had started to walk up to the paddock, and she rolled, she jumped up, shook herself off, and took off at a gallop along the fence line. And my husband and I we get these big grins on our faces when we see that, because she was so far from doing that. And seeing her, every time she walks to the water, I'm thrilled, because that was, you know, we spent many hours and a lot of tears for me. I really felt that I had done something that had caused her to develop laminitis, and I felt horrible. That was all coming from within me. Nobody else made me feel like that. That was within me. And then so just working together, and I mean, my sense was that she kind of knew that we were on this path together. And so now we just celebrate together. And every time I go out, she checks out and like, how are you doing? And yeah, our relationship is lighter and more fun. And it is with with her herd mates as well. So yeah, it's delightful.
Yeah, you said something amazing the other day when we spoke, which is kind of every time you look out the window, you know, you're so grateful for, you know, she's here. And you know, it's beautiful, isn't it? And we never know what's going to happen in the future in terms of, you know, there are all sorts of things as horse owners. We know that stuff happens sometimes, but we embrace those moments. And I remember we had a conversation because, you know, we didn't want to tempt fate. It's hard, isn't it? Because okay, well, you know, it was great that we can do the video, but actually we were talking about the fact if something wasn't quite right now, you would have so much more tools for those early stages. So when we got to work with Oasis together, we were in quite an extreme place already. And now you've got loads more tools where even if you saw the little bit of footiness, or, you know, you would have all these things where you'd be thinking, okay, I can do something about this now, and kind of prevent things from even getting that far now that you can understand where things are at with her. And I think for me, it's one of those things is that I know that we can do so much more to help those horses in those early stages. So although it's great to be able to help horses like Oasis who are so far down, there are owners out there that we can help now so that they never get to that stage. And so I hope that we will be able to do more helping of both ends, because, you know, the better medicine is prevention, isn't it? And
definitely.
you know, what I thought was keeping them off the grass was preventing. I mean, it kind of is to an extent, but it's not thinking about that whole horse and what's going on the inside and supporting all those systems. And actually,
yeah,
you know, that's actually brilliant when you can start doing that and
yeah,
be a bit more informed about what to do and what's going on. So
yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think part of it that I would do too, if I saw something coming up, is I would email you, and we would probably end up having a Zoom call.
yeah,
Because you're just there. You're available to support and help us when something else kind of pops up. I always feel very comfortable in contacting you and asking questions and seeing what other approaches can I do, or, you know, what's in my toolkit already, and okay, we'll, you know, do that again. Oh, okay.
I
And
think
so I
it's
do
great.
it.
I think one of the things I really love as well is that, okay, you started with the laminitis, and obviously things like abscesses came in, but now you've got like your own little first aid kit, haven't you, almost?
Yeah.
So, I mean, over the years, as I know all too well, you'll end up building on that, and there'll be more things, and some things will be better than others. But it's so nice to feel, you know, if we had a conversation today and you said, oh, this one's come up with an infection of something, it doesn't matter that it's minus 52 outside, other than for poor you that's got to go out and deal with it. We already know that you've got some stuff there that you can start to go and work with. And, you know, we've both seen that, you know, the response that you can get can be so quick and such a turnaround, like quicker than what we see, because we both use the conventional stuff as well. But you're going to do what's best for that situation. And actually, some of the stuff that you see in terms of infections clearing up and stuff is just extraordinary, isn't it? So it's great to feel like you've got your first aid kit there. And,
I do.
And the vet's always on the other end of the phone if we need them.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I have a blue bag that I carry down, and you know, we have a regime that we do every day, which is very simple and straightforward, not complicated, not expensive, and it's working with the horses. And they all come over. They go, oh boy, she's here, and you know, this is great. And so they come over, and we, you know, do the regime, and it works for them. So thank you for you.
Well, thank you too. Yeah, it's been wonderful to go through this experience with you, and I'm sure that we'll be having a lot more chats as things go on. And I know we're both very keen on learning more and more about, you know, there's so much that's coming out, and how we can incorporate all this new knowledge and anything that we can do better for our horses and their welfare, like you were talking about. Then that's absolutely fantastic. So yes, very exciting. You never know what's going to happen next in a very positive way.
Yes. That's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leslie. I'll give you the any last thoughts, do you think? I think we've covered quite a lot, haven't we?
I think we did too. I think just keep keeping the welfare of the horse at heart, and being kind and realistic with yourself, and seek out the expertise and people who can support you and provide you that expertise and depth of knowledge. And that's what all the pieces that you can do, I think.
Yeah, it was lovely. Earlier you were talking about how you felt so alone when you were going through that process, and I think, I would imagine, I don't know, I can certainly relate to that, when you're, like you were talking about, every day, you know, we've all been there, where you want to go out in the morning and find that they're okay, and you go and they're not, and you're just desperate to find that thing which is going to make it okay. And yeah, you know, it's no good people being judgmental about what you're seeing, because you really are doing everything that you possibly can. And you know, like, if we had magic wands, we would be out there using them, getting them all back as much as possible. But this is as near as we can get at the moment. I will let you know if if we find anything. Yeah. But we're definitely evolving in that way all the time. So
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for your time, Leslie. I think you might have some more video for me. You made
I
mention to
do.
that the other day. So I will try and knit together, and you can let me know if you think that that works. A bit of Oasis's little journey there from the beginning to her then out in her paddock and then moving about. And I've got a couple more clients as well whose horses have had these remarkable recoveries, having been told that, you know, it was very unlikely. So just sharing in that story and the owners, because they all have amazing owners behind them as well. So thank you very much for sharing your time with us today and your story with Oasis. And I'm sure we'll speak soon.
We will. Thank you very much, Faye, and thank you for all you do.
You're very welcome.